I don't know what to do. Do I need to, you just want me to figure this out? Oh, I see the cake down there.
The camera has a record limit. In this review, I tell you why you should buy the Genesis GV60. Yes, you should buy it. Why you shouldn't buy the Genesis GV60. Then you shouldn't buy this. And Megan experiences both one-pedal driving and full-on EV acceleration, so stay tuned.
It says boosting. The top of the seats are suede.
Yeah, because fancy.
Half suede, half leather. This is like way fancier than anything.
100% Genesis.
That was really dorky.
We're making commercials for them. Hire us, Genesis. Let's get the EV stats out of the way first, because honestly, if you clicked on this video, that's the thing you're probably the most interested in. So the Genesis GV60 gets 235 miles of range from the 77 kilowatt-hour battery pack in performance trim. If you get the regular trim, whatever they call it, you get like 247 miles of range. So not bad.
Not great, not terrible.
For comparison's sake, you get 300 or more miles of range out of the most efficient trims of the Hyundai Ioniq5 and the Kia EV6, which are this vehicle's sort of platform mates. Any way you slice it, that's quite a bit more. So what are you getting in the GV60, you know, as a trade-off for the reduced range?
Did you tell him about the funny man at the grocery store? When you pulled up and it was like, hey man, what kind of car is that? He was like,
yes, a random passerby was very impressed with the Genesis, and then he said, you must be a
wealthy man. Jack was like, yeah.
I was like, no.
No, yeah, no.
I'm a teacher who does YouTube.
We get to borrow nice cars, but
let him
let him think that we're wealthy. What a joke. Joke's
Everybody in our
on him,
neighborhood thinks we're drug dealers.
Probably, because we have a new car every day. The
Genesis GV60 is on an 800-volt architecture, and if you're wondering what that means, it doesn't really matter. What you need to know is that it allows the GV60 to recapture up to 80% of its range in less than 20 minutes. I tested this out at my local fast chargers. I won't call them superchargers. I tested it out at my local fast chargers, and I see no reason to dispute these claims. In fact, I visited a couple of different stations. Take a look. All right, so just pulled into my usual spot, the Mall of Georgia. You can see here I've got 28% battery, 65 miles. We're gonna hook this up to the fast charger, and we'll see how long it takes to recharge. One thing I never understand is that this is saying we're charging at 153, 54 kilowatts right now. Only 17 minutes until I hit 80%, but it says up to 350, and this car can take it. So I never get why that doesn't ever seem to happen. I mean, I will say this. I know that a lot of people have had issues with, you know, Electrify America chargers, just chargers in general, not being in service. I've come here, this is the Mall of Georgia, northeast of Atlanta, and these ones always work. I've only seen them down one time, and there was plenty of them to choose from. So it says I've got about 17 minutes to get up to 80%, which is not bad, because I'm going to be driving to Atlanta this weekend for a volleyball tournament. So that should keep me going since I don't have a 240 at home. So I'll keep you posted on the saga of charging an electric vehicle. Not too bad, 89% in 25 minutes for $9. I will take that. And inside the car, that's reading 90%, well, 89% as I film this, and 205 miles, which is a little lower than I thought, but you know, estimations and all.
3 days later.
So I came to another Electrify America station that's slightly closer to my house. Still, I'm getting right now currently a max of 112 kilowatts,
It says it's going to be about 20 minutes to 80%. It's not terrible. 29 minutes to 90%. I signed up for the Electrify America app or whatever, and a couple others as well, just to put my information in. And the app doesn't work. The touch thing doesn't work, but the credit card reader works. So I think that's the key right there. Hearing a lot of complaints about, you know, EV charging stations don't work because the stupid apps and things don't work. But if they have a card reader, it's fine. It's like a gas station.
Several days later.
Well, this is typical Electrify America. First time it's happened to me, but I hear about it a lot. So pros and cons here of this Electrify America experience. It is a 150 kilowatt hour charger, but it says the capacity is reduced today, so it's only charging at 52, which means it's going to take 48 minutes until 80%. That one doesn't work at all. This one is on reduced charge. Luckily, I've got time, but this is the Electrify America crap you put up with. It must be pointed out that the Ford Mustang Mach-E, which is significantly larger than this, has a front trunk and is just as sporty, I guess you would say, goes 260 miles on a full charge. And more importantly, the Tesla Model 3, which, if we're being honest, is sort of similar in size when it comes to usable space. The Model Y is a little bit bigger than this. The Tesla Model 3 costs less than this if you skip all the it might never actually happen autonomous driving promises and just get like a normal performance version, and it goes over 300 miles and you have access to Tesla's supercharger network. But does a Model 3 or a Mach-E look like this? No, the answer is no. Part of the appeal of the GV60 is the sort of more luxurious appointments. This feels like a luxury car as an EV. And now as we see the Germans moving into this space, it makes perfect sense for Genesis to move into this space if they want to be seen as a true competitor to the German luxury brands. And the interior of this car feels like it. It's way better inside than a Tesla or a Mach-E. You've got leather covering so much with the contrasting stitching. The suede elements all over the place are super nice. The steering wheel feels great. The ergonomics are good. You've got this sort of fake aluminum and supposedly real aluminum accents that are all textured. And at 6'6", I fit inside of here perfectly well. Like, I feel great driving this car. The seats are not my favorite, admittedly, but I think that's a me problem. I don't think that's a Genesis problem. I just have always had a little bit of trouble getting fully comfortable in their seats. My only real complaint is the gauges. When the screens are upright like this, they can be difficult to see when you're tall. I have the steering wheel and the seat set exactly where I want. I love this driving position, but the top of the gauge cluster is cut off no matter what I do. Genesis is a luxury brand, and it's trying to compete at a far higher level of interior ambiance than what sort of Tesla's currently doing. In addition to that sort of elevated interior environment, you get things like face recognition built into the B pillar here. You get a fingerprint reader built into the center console, and you get a digital key that you can text to your friends and family. All of these things greatly impressed Megan.
There is a fingerprint reader? How cool is that? To like lock in all of my settings, I can just put a fingerprint there. I don't have to like do anything, right? That is so cool. And these little volume rockers, like, they look really cool.
Yeah, they do a good job making their
like it looks really, I like all the silver. I like that on all. Like, and you know what I like? It's very, there's a lot of continuity with the styling. Like the silver, like how it's there and it's there and it's there, you know? Like, and it's right here on these, the little ridges. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
The knurling.
What does that mean?
It's like texture.
But it's like everything that you can touch is knurled.
Is knurled.
Is that how you say it?
I mean, basically.
Did I do it right?
Yeah.
And then, apparently, there's Face ID on the door column outside.
Yeah.
Like, that is so cool. So just like knows. That is so cool. So yeah, some new information. Like, I don't care what you say about the range. Like, we're giving it a 10 out of 10, guys.
and you can text the key.
We're giving it a 10 out of 10. You can what?
You can set the key in your Apple wallet and text it to people.
Do I go straight here?
Left. I've lived here our whole life.
All kidding aside, that's pretty impressive that you can walk up and unlock the car with your face. You can set all of your customizations via your individual fingerprint. And if you need someone to drive the car, bring you the car, you can just text them the key. Be careful with that, though. That could get wildly out of hand. You also get really attractive 12.3-inch dual screens, one for the gauge cluster and one for the infotainment system. Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis have been doing a really good job with their screens. You also get a lot of the expected luxury features, right? You want heated and cooled seats up front, you got that. You got a heated steering wheel, you got heated seats in the back. You got a pano sunroof, and you've got some of the most attractive surround view cameras and sensor systems in the business. Because the sensor system's not really attractive, useful, okay? But the cameras, they are attractive. You want a good sound system, you get Bang & Olufsen. You want a suede headliner, you get it all the way down the pillars. You want yellow stitching on your blue leather, you get that too.
I really like the suede. Is that what that is?
Yes.
Yeah, that looks really fancy. But in black, nice. Oh, and it's gray suede right here. Ooh, all the way. Fancy, Genesis. I like it.
And even though you're in this relatively small footprint, I have plenty of room to wedge behind myself. This seat's a little bit up where I would have it, but I can fit behind myself. I actually have headroom here. Not much, barely, but I'm 6'6" in case you're wondering. I have my heated seats, like I said. I've got all of the nice materials. I've got peasant blockers, as the straight pipes like to say.
Do they all have that?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me that was there? That's fun.
Window shades. The straight pipes call them peasant blocker.
Who calls them that?
The straight pipes. It's a more successful automotive channel.
Oh, more successful than yours.
Yes.
So it's like a lot of them.
Yeah. Most of them. Almost all of them.
The peasant blockers. You don't have to see the peasants.
Yeah, because you're in a rich car.
Yeah, wealthy.
Wealthy, like random
like
people
us.
say.
Yes.
There's a lot in the GV60 that really sells this as a Genesis version of the Ioniq5 and the EV6. The head-up display looks fantastic. All the graphics and the gauge cluster look great. You get over-the-air updates, and you get your custom driver profiles associated with that fingerprint reader in the cloud, so they're always there. No idea why I just tapped on my finger like you couldn't determine what a fingerprint reader would do, but here we are. We've been driving this thing all weekend because Hallie had a big volleyball tournament in Atlanta. And so around town, this thing is fantastic to drive, but just don't stray too far.
Well, but if a person can fit in here, think about how much cargo you could fit.
Yeah, human trafficking.
Guys, I'm sorry about him and his humor. He's not as funny as he thinks he is.
Cargo space is a bit limited back here with just 24 cubic feet. And if I'm being honest, it feels like less. We just had the Lexus NX 350h Hybrid, and it has supposedly 23 cubic feet, and that felt bigger and more usable than this. I mean, I appreciate that it's a hatch and that you can fold the rear seats down and get quite a bit more, but I'm hard pressed to believe that this thing actually has more rear cargo room than the Lexus NX. Maybe it's the shape, I don't know. But the point here is that you have enough. You have enough for driving it around town, like I said. But you won't be taking this thing on vacation anytime soon.
Carried all of our weekend stuff for volleyball.
Yeah, you could sit back here and tailgate.
I mean, I guess.
See, look at me. Enjoying the party. Hey guys, you want a burger?
You want to see the front trunk?
Yeah, let's do it. There's a front trunk?
Well, you're
Is it called a boot?
It's going to be disappointing.
Oh, yeah, I want to see it though.
All right.
Oh, I found it. I did it. Where's? I don't think there's a trunk. Open?
Yes.
What are you supposed to keep in here?
Letters.
Letters.
Yeah.
Your mail?
Yes.
Like if you go to if you have a long driveway,
Yes, snail
you
mail.
go to the mailbox, you can put it in there.
Yeah.
But for real, oh, and there's a baby net.
Yeah.
Why is there a baby net?
Not for babies.
Keep your mail safe.
Baby mail.
But for real, why?
It's stupid.
It's like a joke. Could you keep your lunch up here? Is it like a cooler?
No, not like the Mach-E.
No.
No, the Mach-E has a big trunk and a cooler, and the F-150 has a giant trunk and a cooler. This has this.
I don't get it.
It's so they can say there's something up there.
Don't get excited, guys. I mean, it's cute. The net's my favorite. The little tiny net.
You should be doing what we spent all weekend doing, driving in and out of Atlanta. This was the perfect vehicle for that. We live about 45 minutes away, traffic, give or take, and we only had to bring Hallie's volleyball stuff, Megan Stanley, of course, gotta have the water bottle. But we didn't have a lot to carry, and so driving in and out of Atlanta, which distance-wise, now 45 minutes, because of Atlanta traffic being a nightmare, but distance-wise, it was like 25 miles, 30 miles is not very far. So this thing, we drove back and forth, I think twice easily before I even had to fast charge it. So that's the purpose of this vehicle. Don't take it on trips. This is not a vehicle to take on trips. That would be a bad idea.
If I was in the mood for a small car, or in the market for a small car, this would definitely be an option.
A small EV.
A small EV, yes.
So like this or a Tesla? Looks-wise.
This.
Yeah, it's way better looking than
Yeah.
a Tesla.
Sometimes you see Teslas and I think they just look weird.
Well,
Like
yeah,
this
the
doesn't
Model
look
Y
weird.
is weird.
Yeah, like I think they look weird just for the purpose of looking weird. Like
Yeah.
this looks cool, I think. Like it looks different enough that it's an EV, but not like weird.
Yeah. Well, apparently random old guys in parking lots think you're
Yeah,
rich.
and they think you're rich if you get it.
Yeah.
Wealthy, was that?
Wealthy.
Yeah, so I like it. Good job, Genesis.
All right, we have to pause here and talk about the styling because I'm gonna be 100% for real with you guys. When I saw this thing in pictures, I didn't really think I liked the look of it. I thought it just looked okay. Honestly, it looked like someone grafted Genesis styling onto sort of a EV hatchback, but I was wrong, dead wrong. In person, this thing looks great. The stance of this thing is perfection. It's shorter than the Ioniq5 and the EV6, but it's also wider. These 21-inch wheels are gorgeous. They look so freaking cool, especially on the shorter wheelbase and overall length. And the lighting elements, all of the LED cues around this thing, all just give it a unique and kind of cohesive Genesis design statement. It all just looks so good when it comes together. And it's weird because are we even surprised when it comes to Genesis at this point? We shouldn't be, and I want to apologize formally. I'm sorry I doubted you, Genesis. You proved me wrong. This thing is a gem. All right, so let's talk about power and handling. This is the dual motor all-wheel drive, 429 horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque from these two motors. But if you press the boost button right here, that increases horsepower to 483 horsepower for like 10 seconds, which is all in good fun. See, boost mode, active, and that got a that's like a four-wheel tire chirp, and we went flying. Let me check my recording devices here to make sure we're all good. Boost mode. The whole phone just went flying backwards. Oh yeah. I mean, it might not be Tesla Model S Plaid, whatever, but it's more than fast enough. You're gonna beat pretty much anything off the line.
Can I boost again?
Yeah.
I can.
I think.
Okay, just hit it.
Yeah.
Boosting. Woo! That's so fun. That's so fun. That's really fun, guys. You should totally get this car. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
It gives you 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds, which is fast. And right now I'm in normal mode. I'm actually on the handling road. If you're new to the channel, this is just a back road by my house that's sort of known for being fairly terrible. And the Genesis is soft. It feels soft. Now, one of the things about EVs is that they're very heavy. So a lot of EVs have sort of a softer ride because you're suspending quite a bit of weight, on the vehicle's suspension. So they can be a little bit cushy. It's hard to get kind of a firm and sporty ride. I don't have a problem with this. The GV60, even though it is sort of a sporty looking car, it's not really a sports car. It's just a cool looking EV that goes really fast. On the handling road, it gets a little bouncy, not too bad. It's more controlled than that Lexus NX I had recently. But you're never not aware of the weight of this thing. Now, I will say this, in sport mode, I actually really like the suspension in sport mode. It's not firm, it's firmer. And so it really kind of buttons everything down. It feels very controlled. You don't get that kind of motion sense of like, you know, rocking around and stuff. More like kind of porpoising motion, you know? In sport mode, you don't really get that. It's a lot more controlled. It feels great. I think the perfect driving combination would be if this thing had the sports suspension with the comfort sort of pedal and steering inputs. That would be just superb. I'm not even sure. Maybe you could dial that in the custom settings, because if you can, that is exactly how I would spec this thing. Competition in this market segment, the sort of luxury, mid-level, I don't even know what you'd really call it, EV space is getting wild. Think about it for a second. This car costs $70,000, which is the same as a Ford Mustang Mach-E in Performance GT trim. It's slightly more than a Tesla Model 3 in its performance trim, and around the same as a Model Y with its performance trim, and it costs significantly more than its pretty awesome siblings, both of which are excellent, by the way. I'll also point out, mainly because I freaking love the thing, that it's not that much less than a reasonably equipped Ford Lightning pickup truck. The main difference here being that's the size of the Titanic.
Take it to see Mr. Murdoch.
So should you buy the Genesis GV60? Yes, you should buy it if you're looking for a good combination of those attributes. Is it fast like the Ford Mustang Mach-E GT Performance? Yes. Can it recharge as fast as a Tesla Model 3 and Model Y? Yes. Is it packed with features and amenities and technology and the infotainment stuff that the new German EV offerings are? Yes. Does it come with the peace of mind of a very long warranty? Yes. And maybe most importantly of all, does it look freaking fantastic? Yeah. But what if you want even more space and range? Well, then you shouldn't buy this. It's a great around town car, but with only 235 miles of range relative to some of the longer range competition, even under its own Hyundai Kia umbrella, it is a bit limited in that regard. And while the 24 cubic feet of stated cargo carrying capability sounds pretty good on paper, with multiple adults fit inside, we actually fit 5 people inside, which is nuts, it fills up rather quickly. So there's that to consider as well. Honestly, if it were up to me, I would probably get a Hyundai Ioniq5, or I would wait personally on that new GM, the Chevy Blazer EV. I really want to get behind the wheel of that. I think it looks amazing. Hey GM, how about it? How about you send me one of those? I'd love to test it. The Hyundai Ioniq5, if you ask me today, right now, in this very moment, the Hyundai Ioniq5, in my opinion, is sort of the gold standard for everyday EVs. Now, I know this is meant to compete in sort of the luxury space, but the Ioniq5 to me represents all of the attributes of an EV with very few drawbacks. Honestly, the biggest drawback being that it just doesn't have a usable front trunk, which is kind of silly. But if you let me spend someone else's money and you ask me that same question today, of all the EVs I've driven, I'd probably get a Ford Lightning. I am not even kidding. As an everyday usable EV, that thing is incredible. Please, please, before you knock it, try one. Just try one for yourself. I know the price is going up. I know they're more expensive. I know. But just try one. I really deeply love that. And I'm not a truck guy and I'm not a Ford guy. As always, I'm just a guy trying to bring you sort of accurate and truthful and honest impressions of the cars that I test. If you're looking for something to spoil you a little bit, feel a little bit more luxurious than a Tesla, and, well, have really, really fantastic exterior styling, you will absolutely not be disappointed with the GV60. Just maybe skip trying to fit 5 people into one. Guys, I hope you found this useful. If you did, please consider liking, please consider subscribing, joining this community, and please consider sharing it with anyone else that you might think would find it useful. And until next time, drive safe. I'll see you in the next review. Thanks for the turn signal, you big truck driving piece of crap.
Like, how long you should
going
have
over
a car.
the lines here.
Because that car was crossing the yellow. Did you not see that car?
Maniac.
Jeez, he was a maniac. I had to adjust.